of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, tonight, Mr. Emmett, do we have student and staff recognition?
We do this evening, Mrs. Granado. Thank you and good evening, everyone. If I could please have our student and staff leaders from Webb Elementary School please come up to the podium for a presentation on Kids Empowering Kids.
I do know that we have kids here.
It's down for you.
Okay, ready? Good evening. It's nice to be here again. I'm Annie Kuhn. I'm the curriculum specialist at Webb, and I've brought with me Nicholas Safina and Karina Pesci and Matthew Kuthman. And we have also brought our new library and media specialist, Miss Leilani Arnaud, and we'd like to introduce her tonight and tell you a little bit about her, and then tell you a little bit about one of the things that we have started together, the Nutmeg Book Clubs. Are you ready? Go ahead, Nick.
We'd like to start by telling you about our new library media specialist, Miss Arnaud. Before joining us at Webb Elementary, Miss Arnaud worked in Willington as the middle school library media specialist. She came to Webb in late October when Mrs. Murphy retired. Just like a classroom teacher, each librarian puts his or her own special touches on the library. They each have a vision, and Miss Arnaud is working hard to make her vision come to life. She has incorporated some makerspace activities into her lessons, rearranged the book stacks, and is implementing lessons on digital citizenship. She is also working to update the nonfiction collection and labeling the different sections and genres for quick identification. Miss Arnaud loves how much the kids at Webb love to read. She loves helping them find a great book, reading aloud, and just being a part of the school community.
Now we'd like to tell you about something new this year at Webb that Miss Arnaud and Miss Kuhn started, Nutmeg Book Clubs. Nutmeg books are chosen each year in Connecticut to encourage kids to read high-quality literature, also known as really good books. The Nutmeg books are chosen from books published in the last 5 years and have 4 categories: elementary for grades 2 and 3, intermediate for grades 4 to 6, middle school for grades 7 and 8, and high school for grades 9 to 12. Each category has 10 fiction books. In December, Miss Kuhn and Miss Arnaud had each of the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade classes come to the library for what they called Nutmeg book casting. They took turns talking about each of the 10 intermediate Nutmeg books. They told us about the characters and what the story was about. Then everyone got to a vote with a Google form to pick our top choices. Everyone voted, and the top 2 choices were Scritch Scratch and Leonard, My Life as a Cat.
Scritch Scratch is about a girl named Claire who's being haunted by a real ghost. While she's helping her dad with his ghost tour business, she knows she needs to investigate. In her investigation, she learns a lot about Chicago's history and a little boy who is eerily similar to the ghost boy on the ghost tour bus. Leonard, My Life as a Cat is about an alien named Leonard who is supposed to be visiting Earth as a human park ranger, but ends up on Earth as a cat instead. He is taken in by a girl named Olive, but he only has 30 days to get back to his meeting point to get home again. He grows to love Olive and has decided whether to stay with her on Earth as a cat or go home to his alien planet. The 2 book clubs were open to any 4th, 5th, or 6th graders to join. Every person in the book club got their own copy of the book. Mrs. Arnell leads the Squish Scratch Club on Tuesday mornings, and Mrs. Coon leads the Leonard My Life as a Cat Club on Wednesday mornings. During book clubs, we talk about the characters, the plot of the story, the problems of the story, and we make predictions about what we think will happen based on evidence from the book. We usually read a chapter out loud together, and the rest we read on our own.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for us?
Anyone with questions or comments? Liv?
First of all, I'd like to say what a terrific job all 3 of you just did. It is so hard to get up in front of people and speak, and you were reading something that was very well written, you knew what you were saying, and your presence was very impressive. So, congratulate you. What I would love to know is what is your favorite book or one of your favorite books?
Well, for the book club, I'm reading Leonard My Life as a Cat.
I'm also reading Leonard My Life as a Cat. I'm also reading Leonard My Life.
It must be a good book. I should probably check it out.
It is a good book.
Thank you so much.
Anyone else?
Yeah. Hi. So, Ms. Arnell, welcome to the district. It's obvious that the students have been connecting with you and that you're making Webb and the space that they are going to their own. So welcome, and I hope that we can be here to support you as well. Nice job, guys.
Thank you. And Mrs. Arnoux, welcome to Webb, welcome to Wethersfield. And in my mind, all elementary schools should have a media center right smack in the middle of it. And that's where the world revolves, right around that media center. So thank you for working with these young students already. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to say how much I appreciate the student leadership. We talk about, kids empowering kids, and this is one example of many that I've seen at Webb Elementary School, from a student-led Veterans Day ceremony to students being involved in the presentation of the DARE graduation. So I am very appreciative of the work that you're doing over at Webb Elementary School and very proud. And I just want to say to our staff members, thank you for the wonderful work you do. It is very, very reflective of the quality of our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We appreciate your support.
Okay, thank you. We'll wait for it to go up. Okay, next on tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes for our regular Board of Ed meeting on January 9th, 2024. Are there any corrections?
You want to make the motion first?
Oh? May I have a motion to approve the minutes? I will do corrections first. So moved. Okay, a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Great, those minutes are approved. Now, is there anyone in the audience who would like to come up to the podium for a public comment, and you state your name and address, and may I remind you that you have a 5-minute limit? Okay, no takers. Mr. Emmett, you have some communication to share?
I do. Thank you, Mrs. Granato. Good evening again, everyone. I just want to remind the community that we've got a very special event coming up on February 2nd, 2024, from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. over at the Community Center. The Wethersfield Police Athletic League will have its community kickoff. This has been a long process in terms of getting this program up and running. This is the brainchild of Chief Medina. We are very, very happy to be partners in this process. So again, this event takes place on February 2nd from 5 to 8 p.m. There will be food at 6 p.m. It includes a video game trailer, food, music, games, giveaways, and more. We've sent this information out via Parent Square once. We'll be sending it out twice more before this event. So certainly looking forward to that. Also want to make mention of the fact that the Wethersfield Chamber of Commerce will be holding its annual State of the Town breakfast. Invited guest speakers include Ken Lesser, Mayor, Fred Presley, Town Manager, Rafael Medina, Chief of Police, Joya Zach, Economic Development Improvement Commission, and Michael Emmett, Superintendent of Schools. This will be taking place on Wednesday, January 31st at 7:45 a.m. That's registration, and it will take place, I believe it begins at 9 a.m. So actually, breakfast is at 8. So get there early and get a good seat. So again, Wednesday, the 31st of January, 2024. It's over at the Keeney Center. A couple of other items this evening, everyone. We continue to monitor the illness data. The latest information from the Central Connecticut Health District that we got this week is the numbers are starting to come down, which is certainly good news. Again, we continue to see illness here and there. Nothing is really concentrated at this point in time, but the numbers are starting to come down. And what's been interesting is looking at the attendance for students across the district. We are currently, in January compared to last year in January, we're about 0.5% better as a whole. In the month of December, we were actually 3% better in terms of overall attendance compared to last year. So our trajectory looks good. What typically happens is January is the peak and things start to get better, and we see the attendance numbers rise even further as we get into the spring. So things are looking good there. Do want to remind everyone with regard to the building work that we're doing. We have a meeting scheduled for the 29th of January. We're going out to visit South Windsor Public Schools. We'll start off with a meeting with Dr. Kate Carter, Superintendent, talk about her process, and then we will go over and be visiting Pleasant Valley Elementary School. So the ad hoc committee's got a lot of work on their hands, and I know there was a meeting last week, and there was more work done around the planning for the project. So much to be done there. And then finally, last but not least, with regard to snow days, just to let everyone know, we are monitoring the weather this evening. I've already had requests from students. I do have a cadre of students that do reach out via email asking. So there's no decision that's made tonight at this point in time as we're at the board meeting, but I am certainly monitoring the weather tomorrow morning, as are all of my fellow superintendents. I think, one of the things I just want to make sure everybody's aware of, when I make a decision around a snow day, it is a decision that is rooted in the safety of our students and our staff. And I know every time I make that decision, no matter what decision I make, somebody doesn't like it. So right now, at this point in time, tomorrow we are a go, but please be aware that if things change, you will hear from me tomorrow at 5:45 a.m. Not too early, not too late. And with that, that's communications this evening.
Okay, thank you. All right, we have one action item this evening on policies. Matthew, would you please read the motion?
Yes, Bobby. So the Policy and Planning Committee met. We've been having our regular meetings. I like that we've been doing that once a month regularly. I move that the Wethersfield Board of Education approve the recommended policy updates. These policies come from the 5000 series having to do with students, and they pertain to high school graduation requirements, policy to improve completion rates of the FAFSA, and suicide prevention and intervention. We had,
I'll second it.
Okay. Is there any discussion? I think everyone, this is the second reading. Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes. Thank you, Matt. All right, tonight we have an important presentation on equity strategies. Can we come on up? Sally, thank you.
So good evening, everyone. I'm Sally Distoli, and I want to, first of all, introduce the team that's here today before we get started. So I'm Pamela Jones. Doris Duggins, we're back.
And we're glad.
Shahara Banks. Mariam Hazratizadeh. Kayla Cruz.
So I'm incredibly excited to be here this evening and with my fellow friends behind me to talk about some of the work we're doing here in Wethersfield around our third priority of equity. And really, our title is Intentional Practices, moving our work forward and how it weaves into everything we do. It is not something that's a standalone. So as a reminder, we all know that our three priorities of equity, empathy, and achievement are the core focus of our district. And really they braid together, they weave together. But we find that they're really important, so we've separated them as three separate priorities, but know that everything overlaps as we do this work. So just a reminder about priority 3, where we're really working on deliberately identifying inequities in our policies and our practices that impact our community, and really thinking thoughtfully and intentionally about how we can change structures to provide more equitable outcomes for all, inclusive of race. And then our theory of action, which is our belief statement of what we do and how to make a positive impact. So we are fully committed to continuous learning here in Wethersfield, and really growing our individual, because our work around equity starts with self and reflecting about ourselves, our collective social consciousness, and really doing that work together to identify structures, inequities in our practices and our policies. We're then working together to really holistically close the achievement gap, the opportunity gap, the readiness gap, while empowering all students to demonstrate growth and success. And you'll hear today a little bit about our work with parents and the part of that work also. So that's our theory of action. So I wanted to really leave you with this quote and this graphic. Well, there's different graphics that get at the idea of equity and equality. The idea of equality is kind of the theme, right? Everybody gets the same, as demonstrated by the 3 boxes. But equity, we don't manufacture pieces and widgets, right? We're in the human business, and we have to really look at our data and look at our students, our staff, our community, and recognize that everybody's different, and different people and different approaches have strengths. But we also have different supports for our students, our staff, and our community. As demonstrated by those boxes, in order to be able to look over that fence, we all have different strengths, and we all need different types of supports as identified by those boxes. So our work is really on equity to provide an opportunity that everybody has that opportunity for engaging in high-quality learning, equitable outcomes, and so really that opportunity and readiness gap. So this graphic is really kind of an overview of some of our equity strategies here in Wethersfield. I'm going to do a quick overview because I really want to turn it over to the people that are doing a lot of the work. So I want to kind of go through a few of the areas. Right in the middle, we have our district equity team. So it has been in place for several years. Our district equity team is made up of all district administrators and representatives from every building. We come together monthly for shared professional learning, action planning, and then those representatives from each school bring that back to their school-based equity team. So every school has a school-based equity team. Many times it involves additional staff members. They plan professional development, have courageous conversations, and work on that equity work specifically in their building, and then that work comes back as district equity team. And every school has some great successes to share about the work they've been doing through that model. Kind of going up to the right, as you know, we're part of the CREC Teacher in Residency program. This is our 3rd year of supporting diverse educators and supporting the residency program, that they complete that residency program and remain in our classrooms. Going up to the top, our work around social justice coalition that started 4 years ago now. Pam and Doris were actually founding members in the Social Justice Coalition. We have a firm belief that it's not just public education, it's a community-wide event around making sure our town is inclusive, we hear different perspectives, and we talk about different social justice issues, learn together, grow together, again, to implement positive change in Wethersfield. We have a focus and goals around recruiting and hiring and retaining diverse educators. You will hear some of the presentation today tie back to that work, but we are currently working on a written plan for that, but that has been a commitment in our district improvement plan for several years. We do a lot of work around analyzing data. What is the story we learn from our data? What can we learn from that? How can we set goals using our data appropriately? Kind of moving over to the left, far left in the purple, we've had a commitment of increasing diverse texts, languages, and voices in our curriculum, both in text sets, but also in our written curriculum work, and that lens of cultural responsiveness within our curriculum work continues. Courageous Conversations has also been a really important tool for our district. Through our administrators and our district equity team, we use the Courageous Conversation Compass to reflect and navigate conversations as we're talking about different social justice issues and how the impact of race is integrated into the work we do with public education. So this is an important tool that we think over the next few years will also be used with our students. It's really a powerful tool to help guide conversations. That's really, I won't take away what they're going to share later, but it's been, I think, really positive. So that's a really quick overview. You'll see the end of the slide, some references to some of the points in our district improvement plan specifically around equity goals. I'm not going to bore you with that because they have a really exciting presentation. But tonight we're going to focus really on staff and parent BIPOC affinity groups and the community fair. I think that it has been really important work. It has been, I think, incredibly impactful for our staff, our students. I really appreciate Pam and Doris for really leading that work. And I think you're going to hear a lot about it tonight. And I think it's just amazing work. So I'm super proud of it. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Pam and Doris and the rest of the team.
Thank you. Thank you for having us here. We were invited to come and speak to you. So we just want to share a little bit of information about our BIPOC affinity groups, why we even started them. And then we have some members of the groups here who would like to speak to you about how it has impacted, these groups have impacted them. So I just want to give you a quick history. The staff BIPOC affinity group was started when Doris and I were approached about what it feels like to be one of a few staff of color here in Wethersfield. And so we felt comfortable enough to have a really open, honest, courageous conversation about how it feels to just be one of a few. At the time when we had this conversation, Doris and I, with one other person in town, were the only 3 black teachers in the whole district. So we had that conversation, and out of that came a bigger conversation about how we could work together to make the staff all feel comfortable, all staff. So we sat together with administration, human resources, we had consultants from CERC, and we did a lot of work about how to make a BIPOC affinity group. And so they birthed this idea. And so BIPOC meaning Black, Indigenous, and people of color. So let me just give you a little definition of affinity groups are spaces where people of similar backgrounds can feel a sense of belonging and acquire the strength and courage to participate in a larger community. So we started this group in September of 2021, and we started by, see what we have here. Okay, wait, let me go back because I want you to see the goal of affinity groups. So the goal of our affinity group is to connect, support, empower, discuss, and collaboratively improve equity, recruitment, and retention of staff When we got together at our first meeting, we decided that we wanted to take this mission statement and kind of break it down into bite-sized pieces. So connect, support, and empower is what we focused on for our entire first year. Because although we worked in the same district, we rarely saw each other. Like I would see Doris during convocation, I'd give her a big hug, take a picture, and then I wouldn't see her anymore for the rest of the year. So it was important for us in our first meeting to say, why don't we all just connect with each other? So we meet once a month, and that first year we met once a month, we still do, and we just spent time connecting with and learning who we were and learning some of the situations in the different schools and realizing that they were all the same. And we really spent time empowering and encouraging each other. It was awesome. So we have here someone who was a part of that very first year and who is still a member of the group. And she came to talk to you about what her takeaway from being in this group is. So I'd like to invite Miriam back over to the podium. Come on over, Miriam. And she will, you're okay.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Mariam Hasratizadeh, and I am a member of BIPAC Affinity Group, and I joined this group because I want to be surrounded by people that have the same interest in equity. And as an immigrant, I appreciate having a support system where I can feel seen and heard. And also, I can feel be part of this group. They help me to become more comfortable speaking in the public, especially when I'm in the classroom, because I'm the substitute teacher in a high class. And also, if we are going to a conference or something, they're going to help me. And I feel because of this group, I understand everybody can hear me and respect me as other people. And every month when we have a meeting, as Pam said, we always encourage each other if any problem we have, or how we can help each other or other students in all classroom or in the school. Thank you so much for having this opportunity. Thanks.
And I'd just like to say that these monthly meetings are on our own time and they're after school. So after a hard day of teaching, it's so important to the teachers that, we have to wait for the last elementary school to get out and we meet because it's that important. And it gets me emotional. I know people said, when you leave, this equity work is going to go away. And I'm like, no, this can't happen. And so Wethersfield was not going to let that happen, and it's a priority. And I just want to state that right now, of the work that we did the first year, second year, and what we're doing, Wethersfield is following that commitment, and we're telling people they're not just checking boxes, we're doing the work, and we're all growing individually. And so you can see what comes out at some of those monthly meetings. What we do is also we encourage each other to speak. So we have different topics. So at the beginning, Pam and I did a lot of the planning and a lot of the speaking and a lot of the topics. And then we wanted each person to branch out. And so Miriam was able to present to us about her home country and what was going on and how she felt. And we just honored that. And then we had another member speak about what it's like in her Latino heritage. She's from Puerto Rico. So it's important for us to pass that along to them, and so we're real proud that they're here tonight, the staff, so you can see what's happening. So we had a end of the year party. We gather for Christmas, and we have holiday party, and as we said, just support each other. So we just wanted to bring you some pictures. We could not bring them all. This is from the BIPOC event that we had the second year. The first year, thank you, Wethersfield, you supported us with the consultant as we were forming this group. And we wanted him to come speak to the group, the BIPOC group, the first year, and he did. And it was just relieving, and that was another way for them to see that the district was serious, and that Pam and I also had support. And so that, we had Malik in the earlier picture with Sarah. And so he said to us, you can do what you want the next year. He said, I can tell, I know your teachers, you're going to want to do more. And we all said, yeah, we do. And so we were talking, and then I think, Pam, you spearheaded this, and we decided to come up with the BIPOC event. And so we had that last year at Pitkin, and I believe it was a success. We still heard about it last night at Emerson Williams. We invited the police chief. We had vendor tables. We just got our brand new sign that you can see up there, so that we were able to have that there. And it was a good time had by all, and the community felt good. So we were pretty proud of that second event, BIPOC event, and we're going to have another one, and we'll let you tell them. And then we want to continue to grow. So we had opportunities, thanks you, Sally, to go to conferences, and we went to one called Igniting the Change, and so you'll see pictures. So once again, we just didn't want Pam and I to go, so as we were working, we asked them, would you like to go? And they came. So these are pictures of us presenting at conferences and then presenting in the classroom or after school. We also, in our meetings, found out we were mentally tired, a lot was going on, and Pam and I were talking, we go back. We don't share information unless they tell us it's okay to share it. It's confidential, and we decided, and we were talking to the teachers, they just were tired, and so we said we needed a retreat, and so we had a retreat in the district, and we had admin there, and they came and talked to us. Thank you very much. They will never forget it. We had activities. We talked about mental health and taking care of yourself, and it gave them the strength and the courage and to go for it and to continue and to keep that hope and to keep going forward. And so these are some of the pictures that you see from there. Let me just say this really quickly. We teach 4 agreements and courageous conversations. And so our teachers in the BIPOC, if they didn't get it at school, they got it in our meetings. We are also doing that with our parents, and I'm going to let them speak to you. This year we had a welcome back activity, and these are pictures from our welcome back reception that we had at Stillman. So we just wanted to pop them in. A couple of new employees in there. You want to say anything about that? You good? Okay. All right, and now our parent affinity group, our 3rd year. We talked about it. Thank you, some of our supporters. We posted this picture because it's our first year. We didn't know if they were going to feel comfortable or willing to come and talk to you. But we talked to them, and they felt comfortable. So we have some representatives tonight to talk to you about your new BIPOC affinity group for parents. And who's first up?
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Cruz, and I'm not a parent, but my mom, Nancy Velez, encouraged me to go to these parent affinity groups. I graduated from Wethersfield High School in 2019, and I shared my stories with her of different microaggressions I experienced throughout my time in the Wethersfield public school system, and she felt that my voice needed to be heard. And thank you, Ms. Duggins and Ms. Jones, for doing this, because I've seen such empowering conversations going on and such a supportive environment for the parents. It's a safe space for them to express their concerns freely without being judged, and then they learn tools to kind of empower and advocate for their child in different settings. And I think this is something that's long overdue, that's something that needed to be done years ago, and I'm glad that it's happening now, but it still needs to continue to happen, and more work needs to be done. And thank you guys for your time.
Hi, I am a parent of 2 kids, and one goes to Charles Wright, and the other one is out, is policed out. and I'm a parent, and one was going to Silas Deane, and I am an alumni of PEP, and being a part of the Infinity Group just for me, let us to speak our truths and in different stages of where we are in our lives. And then being a leader and an advocate for my kids and for kids in general is good, because it's, for me, having 2 kids, 3, but 2 that's in the school system, being a advocate, I love it, and I love being around kids. My closing, I just wanted to say, I love it, and I love being around kids, and the school system is good, because without the school system, the educational system would go down the drain. But I love it. This is my first time, so I'm just loving it. And just the racism barrier and the happening in the school system and the society, I just love it. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Pam's telling me to say any questions. If you have any questions, you don't have them now, you can reach us at dduggins@wethersfield.me and Pam Jones at wethersfield.me.
Anybody have any questions? Well, I do, and this is a question I've been wanting to ask for a long time. Can someone explain, or either give the board some information on what a courageous conversation is? We hear about it a lot, but I've never seen it. I saw it looked like a board that you had with the 4 rectangles in it.
All right.
If someone could explain it to us, yes.
Well, courageous conversation is when you having a group of people around and they having a conversation. They go through their belief system and they thinking about things and they feeling and they action. It's just like when you having a conversation with the superintendent and y'all having that, y'all going to the compass and y'all the belief system that you have, y'all have the same belief system. And if you are on that same belief system, you're going into the thinking. And after you go into the thinking, you're going into your feelings. And after the feelings, you're going into the action. That's what it is.
Yeah. She just described to you the Courageous Conversation Compass, which we use as a tool when we have those conversations, right? So we talk about what a courageous conversation is not. It is not blaming, it is not cancellation culture. It is about understanding the other person and their perspective and their view. So this is a tool that we've been learning so that you can enter the conversation and say, like for me, for tonight, I entered from emotional feeling, and it was a good feeling. I was really proud. And then I moved along to believing, like, who could have imagined that this would have taken place? And to thinking, like, what else can we do? Who can we connect to? And your idea is that you move around that compass when you're having a difficult conversation. And it comes with 4 agreements that you post. So if I'm having a conversation and I know and I want to feel a certain way, we all know that we're going to agree to 4 different things in that conversation. So we feel more comfortable having that conversation so we won't be labeled with names and guilt. And I've seen it work. we've taught it to the parents. I learned it. We taught it at Wethersfield High School. The goal is we're going to Silas, Deane, and it really helps. We watch the parents navigate it, and and we will talk about people say, well, I get stuck in that feeling. I see now how important it is for me to move around, right? So that's kind of what it is. And I was thinking, if the board wants to know, we can make arrangements with you to walk you through it. So the entire town, the goal is that we all can do this. So if I have to have a conversation with you, I know you understand how we have that conversation, and I don't have to feel defensive.
Well, thank you. We'll take you up on that invitation. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else?
Yep. So I want to thank everyone for coming. Ms. Duggan and Ms. Jones, I had the opportunity to hear you talk about the BIPAC family outreach at Charles Wright PTO, and that's why I definitely asked for you guys to come. I think it's a great opportunity that you're giving our families, and I appreciate everything you guys do for the district.
Thank you. Thank you for that. We appreciate it, and we are going to, we didn't say that, but we go to PTO meetings as well, so that we can make connections there, and, we're always trying to make those connections, so we appreciate that.
Matthew?
I just want to thank you all for coming tonight as well, and sharing your work and sharing your stories. It's sometimes easy to share your work, but it's not always easy to share your stories, and that's much appreciated. And I really like the fact that I attended a school system, and I'm currently working in a school system that has a group like yours. So thank you all for coming. This was tremendous.
That was great. Liz?
Hi, I would like to congratulate you on your graduation from the UConn PEP program. That's really wonderful. I'm very happy for you. And I love the role modeling that you're doing for everyone. You can just feel this great energy coming from all of you. It seems like there's such happiness and commitment to, sharing things that you're learning, to improve, to take action, to accept everyone. I've had the pleasure of knowing Miriam and her very impressive daughter. And, when we think about role modeling, I just loved hearing your presentation. I'm looking forward to hearing more about it. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
I want to say one thing.
Thank you for your time after school, because as a teacher who does that, as a teacher who's done Courageous Conversation, it's incredible work, but it's also emotional. And the after school commitment that you have, it's just incredible. So thank you. And we're here if you need us.
All right.
And also, I hope that we see you again. We all have a lot to learn beyond courageous conversations, and it's always good to check in.
Okay. So thank you very, very much. You were enlightening. Thank you. I think we might need it.
We might need it one more.
I think we might need it, yeah. Hold on. So we have another presentation tonight on the results of the Wethersfield Youth Voices Count Survey.
Do you need
Are
the
you going to
projector?
use this? Yeah, okay. Yep. Thanks, Jim. They're going to keep it.
I don't think he has the slides dialed up.
Oh.
Do I have to do anything on here?
Do you have the slideshow there?
Okay.
That was on the way.
That was great. Now, communication on your part. No, what Jim just said.
Oh.
That was so good. I always wanted to be in this. I was going to do that.
We don't have that next one.
This is canceled. This we had this.
This is meetings held.
Oh, yeah, where's, scheduled.
Voices count. These are on.
You have the wrong agenda. Look at my meeting schedule.
Where's mine? Can you see mine? Okay, yours is. I have the right date.
It's weird. Because this is still not the same as mine.
It is weird. Mine's different, so we have 3 different agendas here. How is this possible?
Thank you, I appreciate it.
There's 3 different ones.
Okay. Good evening, Board of Education members and Superintendent. My name is Erica Texera, and I'm the Assistant Director of Social, Youth, and Senior Services for the town of Wethersfield. Also liaison to our Drug-Free Communities Grant, which we have a coalition, We Hope, which stands for Wethersfield Helping Others Through Prevention and Education. I'm also joined here tonight by Bonnie Smith, our Youth Voices Count Survey Consultant. We come before you tonight to share the results and key findings from the confidential Youth Voices Count survey that was administered online this past November to all 7th through 12th graders that attend Silas Middle School and Wethersfield High School. By conducting this survey, Social and Youth Services was looking to solicit student input and perspective regarding substance use and at-risk behaviors. The data will be used to best guide future planning, provide prevention programs, and promote overall community awareness. We appreciate you allowing us to come here tonight and share this important data. I will now turn it over to Bonnie Smith, and we have a presentation that will be up on the screen.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for having me tonight. I've been before this Board of Education many times with survey data, going back to 2016, but it is unique for me because I'm a Wethersfield resident and a mom of 3 kids in the district. So while I do this in many districts in the school, it's a whole different thing coming to Wethersfield. So Erica mentioned that the survey occurred November 2023. Again, that was grades 7 through 12. Tonight, I'm going to walk you through some key findings, both some good news and just areas we might focus in on. There's a huge survey report, and when I say huge, I really mean huge. It's overwhelming. A lot of material tonight you won't necessarily, that's from that report, you won't necessarily see. I'd like to point out in that report, in the spirit of understanding health disparities and equity, we do in-depth analysis on statistical differences between groups of students. So we do analysis by those based on biological sex, gender identity, sexual identity, and race ethnicity to highlight any groups without identifying any individuals who may be having more areas with increased risk factors. The response rate this year was good, about 83% overall. Last time we surveyed it was 88%. Still all really good. Anytime I see over 80%, I'm thrilled. This is how we broke out the demographic groups in the analysis of the report based on student response. I'm just sharing this so you know. Where you see sort of that peach color, that's where the groups are small enough that we have to call them an aggregate group for the purpose of analysis so we don't inadvertently identify an individual. This is the breakout of gender identity. Overall, we had 4.1% of youth describe themselves as transgender, non-binary, or unsure. This is down from the last time we asked this question, I wanted to note, where it was 6%. This is the first time we asked about sexual identity, and I do like to highlight when I talk about these demographic questions, there is not a single question in the survey that's required for a student to answer. So students can skip questions throughout the survey. If they're uncomfortable with something, it's absolutely fine. And if there's an issue in the survey that's brought up emotionally for them, they're directed with instructions both before the survey with a video and at the end of the survey informing them who they should contact in their school, and then after hours contacting 211 or the suicide hotline. Should have said that before, but thought about it here. Sexual identity, we had this year almost 14% of youth describe themselves as gay, lesbian, bisexual, pansexual, or describing themselves in another way. This slide's about gaming assets and consequences in the past year. The box at the top is there because those are 3 new questions in the survey. And the one I'm going to focus in on is having a hard time stopping. This one, this is this funny thing that happens with PowerPoint sometimes. The bottom dark blue is middle school. The middle one is high school, and then the top blue is overall. I'm just going to point out that the middle school kids are having more of a hard time stopping gaming than those in the high school, and that in general, 50% 58% of kids feel more connected with others because of gaming. But then conversely, we have about 17% who got into a verbal or physical fight because of gaming. Looking at social media, then we also have a parallel question now of having a hard time stopping scrolling, checking, or refreshing. And we have about 32% of middle school and 35% of high school students saying that that's true for them in the past year. And then that connectedness with others, 62% about feel more connected with others because of social media, and about 17% overall got into a fight, physical or verbal, because of social media. So there's ups and downs to all of these activities, is my point. Looking at bullying and perception and frequency. I wonder, do we have the PDF? Do we know? Sorry. This sometimes, it happens in Wethersfield, and that's why I always send you the PDF. I can talk about it while we look at it, but I just don't want to keep going on not having a great label for you. So there's been an increase in reported bullying in their lifetime for youth in this survey. The last time we surveyed, lifetime bullying was reported as at 43% said, yes, I've been bullied in my lifetime. This time we have 51%. We also saw an increase for the frequency of bullying. So in 2021, we had about 0.8% of kids saying that they were bullied almost every day. This time we're seeing 1.6%, which is the equivalent of 22 students in the sample. So while 1.8% is low, 22 kids that are feeling like they're bullied almost every day are kids we're going to worry about, certainly. Let's see, the types of bullying, the first is name calling, second is rumors, and third is exclusion, just to give you a sense of that. Physical bullying, reported physical bullying has gone down though since our last survey. So there's kind of been a shift in the types of bullying occurring. Looking at the places students report being bullied, the first is in the classroom, second is the hallways, and the other choices are things like bathroom, gym, lunch, walking to school, bus, online, which comes in about fifth of all the choices, and then after school. Looking at emotional health, this is where we have some good news, and I'm going to dig into this if our slides are working properly. We have about 24% of youth reporting almost always or always feeling anxious in the past year. That doesn't sound amazing, but it's better than it was. Most reductions we are seeing is actually at the middle school, and I do know, as a town resident, there's a tremendous number of programs occurring there related to mental health. Sources of stress for kids, all the sources this year were reported less than what we saw in 2021, so that was good news. And the number one source for both middle and high school was academics, which did not surprise me because it's always that way in every community we survey. The second source we typically see is post-high school planning, particularly for high school students, of course, and then schedule. That's a bigger one. Other areas in the presentation, which don't come up as high, but that we watch, are stresses around home family life, and then financial security. The lowest one is social media as a source of stress.
That's interesting.
That's surprising.
The next one I'm going to talk about is a little harder to articulate entirely verbally to you, but I'll do my best. So we measure things like thoughts of self-harm in the past year, acting on that self-harm, physical abuse by an intimate partner, being sad or hopeless 2 or more weeks in a row, which I call the depression indicator, or considered suicide in the past year. So all of these have gone down since 2021, which is great news. When I'm looking at thoughts of self-harm, we have about 13% of youth saying that they've had that in the past year, and about 8.4% reporting acting on that self-harm. We have 2.4% of youth overall reporting being in part of an intimate relationship that involved physical violence, and then about 14% reporting depression in the past year, and not clinical depression, but depression in the sense of the survey. And then 8% report considering suicide in the past year, which represents 111 youth when we do the math. So again, everything is looking better than it has, but I'm always worried about these kids reporting what they're seeing here. I had some slides to show you the changes. They might be coming. It's okay if they're not. Around those mental health indicators to show you the percent change, so you get a sense of the proportion of that between the middle and high school students. And we can go back to that if we're moving along that way. But in the meantime, I'll keep talking.
Bonnie?
Yeah.
I know that in your presentation, we do see that
you
like
do
the upcoming slides on these.
Yeah.
Maybe we could show that to go along with what you're referring to, because the slides they're so helpful.
I was trying to think. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. That's okay. There's something about Wethersfield's system and my system that doesn't match, but that's why I do the PDFs.
That's better.
That looks good.
Yeah.
I'm going to skip to where we were because, you have this in your packet too. So thank you, Liz. This was the emotional health indicator slide. This is on the left showing grades 9 through 12, the changes since 2019 to 2023. The right is the middle school. So we do see some nice reductions for all grade levels across all indicators, but in particular, we saw some pretty strong reductions at the middle school level. I do want to note that our depression indicator changed from 2019 to 2023. It used to be, have you ever felt this way, being sad or hopeless? We changed it to past year to get better refinement of the data. So this is the percent change or improvement that we saw for in the blue, middle school, and in the green, high school, for each of those 3 emotional health indicators we're talking about. So this is showing a negative because we're showing a change, an improvement, if you will. There's less of it. So it just gives you a sense of where the middle school and high schools fall proportionately. And that middle school anxiety really improved a lot. That was a 24% change or reduction since 2021. And considered suicide also saw all across the board, that blue for the middle school. High school too, but the middle school stood out to me. And then comfort seeking help. When I've presented these data in the past, the Board of Education has been particularly interested in school staff. And so we did a little bit more analysis on that this time. We still see that overall about 68% of youth feel comfortable approaching a parent or guardian for help when they need support. About 61% say yes, friends are a source of comfort and are of getting help. Coaches are around 18%, and having just another trusted adult that's not a parent is about 42% of youth reporting that. But digging into comfort-seeking help from school staff, we compared Wethersfield to all the other districts in our survey. We did not do it by district reference group because at this time in the past year we didn't have enough group D, we're group D, to match. So we did our entire sample minus Wethersfield and compared Wethersfield to see the percentage of youth at the middle school and high school level, and then combined that said, yes, we're comfortable seeking help from school staff. And indeed, Wethersfield favored better than the entire sample for our past year, which includes probably around 15,000 youth in that sample. So I just wanted to share that. I thought that was good news. Perception of having a trusted adult and feelings of safety. So this is agree and disagree. I'll just point out feeling safe in my community, 92% of youth agreed overall. About 85% feel safe at school, with the middle school feeling a bit safer than those in the high school at 89.6% compared to 81.5%. And then knowing how to get help if you need it in the sense of emotional help, not academic help. Overall, we have about 87%, and that's a new question this year, so I can't tell you how that's changed. Looking at substance use, I'll move quickly because I know that we don't have tons of time. The number one substance used in youth's lifetime is alcohol, and that's more than just a sip, not for religious activities. So we're factoring in that in the equation. Number 2 is vaping nicotine products, with almost 6% of youth overall having tried them in their lifetime. And marijuana comes in next, with about 5.4% having tried marijuana or THC products in their lifetime. Past month use, which is a real gold standard in the work that we do, we see a little bit different, where marijuana is the number 1 substance used in the past month or 30 days, at about almost 4% for high school, or overall 2.6%, followed by alcohol. Then we look at the vaping of nicotine products. This is the trend data for each of these substances, and everything's looking very good. There's definitely been a decline. Since we started surveying in 2016, it went up for some, as you can see by the line graph, particularly around vaping between 2016 to 2019. But since then, for the most part, we've seen reductions, and the biggest reductions we've seen have been around alcohol, or we would phrase it in this case as underage drinking, which is one of the priority substances for the Drug-Free Communities grant that Erica and the We Hope Coalition have been working on. I just like to point out where substances are accessed on the left and used. The theme here is really home and with friends overall. This is consistent with what we see in other communities, certainly, but I always like to highlight as community leaders and parents that the number 1 source of alcohol is home with parents' permission and at home without parents' permission, and then most often used with parents present or at a friend's home, essentially. And that trend is essentially true for most of the substances in terms of use, and then friends and peers. Use of substance at school. This includes school events, and the analysis is done on students who report using substances. Overall, we can see that the most commonly reported substance used at school is at the high school level, and that's vaping nicotine at 3.5%. And then marijuana use, which could be certainly through a vape, edible, or other means, is around 2.2 for the high school. I'm not going to read this to you, but I do like to point out that we do analysis by grouping all the students in the survey who've ever used any substance in their lifetime and measuring if there's a statistically significant difference amongst that group amongst youth who had never used. And then we look at it across every indicator in the report. And so this is just some of them, but essentially the take-home message is, why do we care about youth substance use? Well, it's highly correlated, not necessarily causational, but correlated with mental health, family, connection to school, violence, etc. We do measure lifetime substance use of sort of some of the lesser used substances, and what I always like to point out amidst the ongoing concern about the opioid epidemic in our country is that opioid issues are not typically youth issues, certainly not typically youth issues in school, and we found that 0.2% of students overall had ever used heroin or fentanyl, or essentially non-street or street opioids, and that equates to 3 youth in the entire school population of grades 7 through 12. I'll run through sexual behaviors quickly. This is asked only of high school students, and if a student reports that they had never had sexual intercourse or oral sex, then there's a skip pattern. They're not asked any more questions related to sexual behaviors. You can see here about 11% of youth reported yes, having had sexual intercourse in their lifetime, and about 12.6% report having had oral sex. This year, we did ask middle school students if they'd ever talked to their parents about essentially safer sex. However, students were not asked about their sexual behaviors at the middle school level, just had you had a conversation in your family. Generally, about 66% of middle school students said they had not, compared to the 52% at the high school level who had that conversation with their family. There's that 14% almost at the middle school that were not sure if they'd had the conversation. And then there's a solid almost 21% who were clear that they had. So the high school, certainly there's more conversations or more understanding of those conversations going on. This question is about use of protection to protect against STIs or sexually transmitted infections and pregnancy prevention. I'm going to point out here the never. So if you have had sexual intercourse or oral sex, how frequently do you use protection? And we're seeing about 31 to 32% saying never. So it's a smaller group of kids who are engaged in sexual behaviors, but it's a pretty high percentage of youth who are not necessarily taking measures for safety. And the barriers to those, the number one is fear that parents will find out, and that's pretty equal for males and females. Embarrassed to buy comes next, and then cost, which is more of a concern for males than females. And looking at the other end of the graph, planning ahead and I don't want to sort of stands out for males. And the reason we share these data with you, I mean, they're your data, you can do whatever you want, is just to highlight areas, in terms of practice that can, improve communications even outside the school district. We know that we gather these data as a partnership. It supports grants in the community and grants in the schools, but issues identified are not school issues, they're community issues and family issues. Toxic stress. This is in the past year if you directly seen, heard, or been a victim of violence in your neighborhood, community, or school. Overall, we're seeing 8%. Having experienced discrimination, about 17%. Having had a problem with housing is about 2%. And then concern that your family doesn't have enough food or food would run out is about 3.6%. And then lastly, we're called Youth Voices Count for a reason. We ask kids questions. We would like them to get their answers back to them. And we get about 44% of students who have some level of interest in seeing the data. So thank you for your patience. I'm sorry we had some tech issues. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? We haven't?
I do. This data is so important, and I also love the fact that you had I feel like the middle school students were protected from the questions around the sexual activity, which I think is so appropriate. Nationally, I feel like these percentages are so much worse. And I'm wondering what some of the reasons might be. I'm surprised at the lower percentages that we're seeing. I have never looked at data, in this regard, comparing Wethersfield, but just in the climate, and that could be I'm just influenced by what I'm hearing nationally, but it's just a little surprising to me. Were you surprised at all? I mean, what you're seeing?
I'm not surprised, but I understand what you're saying. I live and breathe in this daily. And we tend to find that for our survey and other similar surveys that are provided to Connecticut youth, where I'm most enmeshed day to day, that those surveys see rates similar in similar districts that you see here. When you look at the Connecticut School Health Survey data, the statewide survey, the rates for substance use are much higher. And my colleagues and I, we don't really know why that is, because the survey tools are very similar, the methodology is similar, the analysis is also similar, but for some reason, when we implement these community-specific surveys, we see lower rates than the Connecticut School Health Survey. Okay. But what we see in Wethersfield is consistent with other districts, similar districts.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Well, I thank you because I find it so fascinating. These are, young students we've had who've come through, and they're going through all the human issues that we've all faced, but worse now. And I am so thrilled that we get this information on them, and then we have the ability to say, yes, we need to work, we need to get interventions. Even our wellness center for these students to be able to go there to maybe stop something before it gets to a greater degree. So I thank you for this information. I find it so valuable for all of us.
Well, thanks for the opportunity to collect the data, because I know that it takes time and effort for the schools.
Yeah, just to that point, Bonnie, thank you very much for your efforts in this endeavor. And again, thanks to the board for supporting this. We definitely use this data for the development of grants. I know, both of our mental health grants that we were able to get through the state, we utilized Youth Voices Count data from 2 years ago. So it's critically important, and I think, looking at the trends and seeing that anxiety, mental health, what I wonder from this data is, has what we've put in place in our schools with the grants a direct result of this, data showing some level of improvement. So, again, to our friends at the town, Erica, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate the partnership. So, thank you, Board of Ed members.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Says that's the right one.
Okay.
Oh, okay, it's the most recent one.
He signed off on this one. Okay, we'll continue here with meetings held, of which we have a lot of them here. Community and Public Relations Committee. Marjorie, would you speak to that?
Overview. This past community relations meeting, we had guest speakers, which were Jeff Telke and Shane Santos, who are work in our IT department, and I know Shane is like the webmaster, and they both handle most of the communications when it comes to the, whether it's social media or the website. So they went over what the website involves. It was pretty informational as far as how many pages. There's over 250 pages just within the district website alone. And it, of course, encompasses each school and the information for each school, and then, a million other things. And just other statistics like how, this is kind of an outlier, but December alone, there's 30,000 views on the website, but usually it's about 10,000 to 12,000 a month. And then there's just various contributors throughout the district that have to, who have the information, the content information, that are able to make the changes, add the information. And also that, if there's any information or something that you find that you can't access or you think would be better for the website, there's a little link at the bottom of the website webpage that says website feedback form, and they would appreciate it, and they always like to have feedback on what they can do better or add content they can add. And we went over, the different social media uses, and how the high school has a tremendous amount when it comes to Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook to get information out about whether it's athletics or other information about the school. They have the Blue Eagle News, which is the news program that the students put on, and they have their own YouTube account, which is always fascinating and great, and they do amazing productions there. And then some of the elementary schools do as well. And so we were just gathering that kind of information, and look forward to maybe using more of it in the future.
Okay, thank you. Then we had a Board of Education Town Council Joint Communications Committee. Chuck, can you speak to that?
Yes, it's our opportunity to sit down with the town side. There's two council members, and the town manager meets with myself, Bobby, and Mr. Emmett, and we discuss the upcoming budget, and we discuss the town is forming a building committee to oversee the HVAC system upgrades at the middle school, right? And it'll be for other projects as they come up.
Thank you. So our Student Program and Services Committee was canceled, so we're going to get twin variety next week, I gather, yes. CREC Council, now I'm on the CREC Council, and we met on Wednesday, January 17th. The CREC Council is the Capital Region Education Council, of which Wethersfield is a member, along with 35 other surrounding towns. The council is responsible for the regional magnet schools and Project Choice, and they've also organized and are running the Hartford Head Start program. The meeting started with welcoming comments to the new CREC counselors, because after municipal elections, there's often change in our council representatives from the 35 towns. The council also heard from Executive Director Greg Florio, He focused on the legislative session that is about to begin and how CREC is always working for funding from the state for the CREC magnet schools. The goal is to have the state paying for magnet school tuition and not the participating towns. Dr. Florio has often mentioned his frustration that CREC and its 35-member towns can have a strained relationship because of the magnet school tuition costs to town budgets. There will be a legislative CABE-CREC breakfast on February 15th at the Legislative Office Building, and all are invited. This is a time to speak to our representatives on the many issues facing school systems in Connecticut. And I'm also a member of the CREC's Early Childhood Committee. On January 10th, through a Zoom meeting, we had a presentation on CREC's work on the Hartford Head Start program. And we also had an opportunity, not on the Zoom meeting, but actually to go to the opening of the new Head Start building. The vacant Swift factory building in Hartford was recently renovated into an early childhood facility. The building is beautifully renovated with large open spaces and floor-to-ceiling windows to create a stunning early childhood learning environment. And all info that I say on our board meeting here can be found on the CREC website. So thank you. Also, I'm going to continue with our Wethersfield Public School Ad Hoc Building Subcommittee. On Thursday, January 18th, the Ad Hoc Building Subcommittee met in the lower level Stillman. This subcommittee was formed to start the process of getting input from the community for our elementary school building project. After the failed referendum, we were told loud and clear that our townspeople did not have enough info on the details of the original building project and that citizens wanted more opportunities to have input into the next plan. This meeting's objective was to highlight 2 to 3 plans from 5 plans that had been discussed in committee and to discuss as a group ways to get more people involved and better ways to communicate. The 3 plans are seen as the beginning of getting important input as we begin this long process again. Moving forward, facilities and communication committees will be working to send out a survey to get more people involved and more ideas on the table for this incredibly important project. Okay, then we had a special Board of Education meeting on January 19th, and this was a meeting concerning a student matter. Now, on to Human Resources Committee, and that is Christina.
So I want to report, we had a meeting last night. The district is in a good place with filling absences. I do want to publicly thank the teachers that are stepping in to teach a 6th class. And we're also brainstorming ways to appreciate the staff members across the district. So I think that's another important focus I want to bring up.
Okay, thank you. And our Finance and Operations Committee, which we just held, Matthew?
Yep, so the Finance Committee met prior to this meeting. I'm going to take a page out of Mayor Ken Lesser's book and touch on 3 major points, 3 major takeaways from that meeting. One of them is sobering and doesn't make any of us happy, and it has to do with excess cost reimbursement from the state, which we were told was going to be 88%, and it's looking very possible like it's only going to be 70%. What this does for our budget is it causes a $400,000 flip. Presently, we're at a $50,000 surplus. If we only get 70% of excess cost reimbursement from the state, we will end up currently with a $350,000 deficit. Reason to reach out to your legislators. Second, we're in budget season. We're planning budget workshops. They are open to the public. They're going to be on Saturdays. The first one we intend to hold on Saturday, February 3rd in the Stillman Building, 9 a.m. And the second one plans to be held the very next Saturday, February 10th. The third topic I'm going to touch on has to do with the upcoming budget. We had some preliminary discussions tonight, very preliminary, about some of the things that we want to do, some of the things that we have to do. But it's looking like we're going to be asking the town council for some money. Go figure. Hopefully we can come to an agreement on the dollar amount that they will allocate to us this year. although we are friends up here with the council majority, tough conversations are going to be had and tough decisions are going to have to be made. I don't look forward to it. I would much rather hear presentations from Web students about book clubs, but this is part of the Board of Ed process, and we're going to get to work on the budget.
Thank you, Matt. Perfectly said on the end there. So we have meetings scheduled. We have a Facilities and Maintenance Committee on January 24th at 6 o'clock, and these are all at Stillman. Student Program and Services Committee, the first one is on January 29th at 6, and the next one is on January 30th at 6 in the Stillman building. Policy and Planning Committee on February 5th at 6 o'clock, and Wethersfield Early Childhood Collaborative, WEC, will be on February 12th at 4:30. So is there anyone wishing to make a public comment? Come on up to the podium and state your name and address. And may I remind you, public comments are limited to 5 minutes. Okay, do I have any board comments this evening? Janice?
I just want to mention that tomorrow night at 7 o'clock is Charles Wright's first PTO meeting of the year. They have reported to the Board of Ed that January they are concentrating on their student assessment, mid-year assessments. They're testing students to see where they are, to analyze their data and make necessary changes for the students' continued growth. The teachers have had 2 professional development after-school afternoons. One was on January 9th, where they focused on student-centered discipline. And today, where they focused on the question of what does our January assessment data tell us, and their focus is on grade-level action plans and mid-year reviews. Their social awareness focus for this month is awareness of self and others.
Thank you. Anyone else for board comment? Jim?
Yes, I attended the Wethersfield High School PTO meeting on January 17th. They're finalizing planning for the 8th grade family night, which was January 18th. Safe grad payments were due January 19th. There was a discussion on a presentation by Kristen on the capstone project that is ongoing for all juniors. That was reinstated after, I believe, a hiatus from COVID. And this project supports the strategic plan and was also recommended by in the NAASC report. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members? Liz?
Am I allowed to ask Jim a question during this time? With the capstone presentations, is the high school still looking for people to assist with being presented to and evaluating? They were looking for the public to get involved. Is that still ongoing, do you know?
That was not mentioned at the meeting specifically.
Okay.
Sally, we're going to have that, right? We're going to have, yes.
As far as I know.
Upcoming agenda next week. Okay, great.
I'm sorry. I believe in the Friday report, they were asking for more Board of Ed members to volunteer.
Okay.
Yeah. Excited about that. Okay, any other board members? John?
So unfortunately, I was, due to another committee, I was unable to attend the Hanner PTO, but I did through a proxy send them my notes and then got notes in return. So I'll just say a couple of things that from the Hamner side. There's a bunch of exciting things going on. They're getting ready, obviously, for the Nemo play, which my daughter Claire is extremely happy to be a part of. They're also looking at a 6th grade play with a Greek theme, and they're looking to see if they can set that up soon. Our chair, Bobby Granado, as well as Mayor Ken Lesser, was there exciting the kids about the kid chair and kid mayor essay submission contest, which is really exciting. A lot of upcoming events. There is a trivia night, I guess, at Heirloom this Thursday. They're going to have a Yard Goats game, which we all look forward to going to on April 26th. And they're getting ready to do Hamner's Got Talent again. It's a TBD date, but when they do have a date, I encourage everybody to go. It is super fun. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Christina?
So I got the opportunity to organize and attend SDMS First Bingo Night on Friday. The students running it were so funny. They were doing jokes and calling out numbers, and we had about 35 families there. It was a great event. And all the funds are going to their civic project, which is to make goodie bags for the homeless population. So they're super excited about that. It was fun. Got to serve a lot of pizza.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for going to those meetings and being there. Matt?
I have something. So it's fitting that what I'm going to say was preceded by some of the presentations that we had tonight. So we had representatives from Emerson Williams, and we also had a presentation that had that touched on sexual identification or sexual orientation of our students. So I just want to read it's a very positive text. This is from my wife. I hope she doesn't mind. She said, I just had a consultation with a parent of 2 middle school students. They go to Silas Middle School. She said they moved to Wethersfield several years ago, and both their children are non-binary, and they had the most welcoming experience at Emerson Williams. So I had shared that with a bunch of you up here already, but I just wanted everybody to hear that. It's good to know that everybody in Emerson Williams and middle school and WPS is being treated kindly.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? Liz?
Sure. So for Webb, I'm looking forward to going to my first PTO meeting at Webb as a Board of Ed member. I was a member many years ago. My kids went through. They're looking forward to their bingo event this Friday. We had the pleasure of seeing their presentation with the Nutmeg Book Club, which I'm still blown away. I think it was so fantastic how the kids read and presented themselves at such a young age, too. They also they have kicked off, I believe it's the Seussical that they're getting ready for, like the other schools are doing as well. And they have also, I believe they have Penny Wars kicking off fairly soon, too.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, thank you. You get everyone? Okay, but we need to know what life is like at the high school. Mary?
Today was the last day of midterms for WHS, and the second semester starts tomorrow. This year, WHS juniors are completing capstone projects, and the proposals were submitted on January 8th. It's a great way for students to apply their learning. Last Thursday, WHS hosted our annual 8th grade night, where 8th grade students and their families visited for an informational meeting, tours, and to explore the sports and clubs fair. Boys basketball won their last 2 games against Tolland and Rocky Hill, and girls basketball won their last 2 games against Plainville and Sports and Medical Sciences Academy. Boys hockey is also having a good season and won last Saturday against East Catholic. And on Saturday, our dance team won first place Palm, third place Jazz, and overall highest score at their competition. And spring sports are making preparations with informational meetings and captain's practices, and we're looking forward to a new season and semester. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, is there any unfinished business tonight? Okay, so at this time, I'd like to make a motion to move to executive session for the purpose of discussing attorney-client communications. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that concludes the public part of our board meeting. Thank you all for coming and for watching. The board